For 65 years, America knew him by only one name: the boy in the box. No one knew who he was. No one knew where he came from, and no one came forward to claim him. Generations of detectives searched for answers. Thousands of leads poured in. Faces aged. Careers ended. Entire families lived and died without ever knowing the truth.
Hidden beneath the frost and winter brush, the box held a secret that would take months to uncover.
It seemed impossible that a child could simply disappear from the world, leaving behind no name, no history, and no one searching for him. Then in 2022, everything changed. Not because of a confession, not because a witness finally spoke, but because of a single strand of DNA. After 65 years, investigators finally uncovered the child's identity. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. But solving one mystery uncovered another. Who was this little boy? How did he end up alone inside a discarded cardboard box? And if investigators finally knew his name, why has no one been held accountable for his death? This is the story of one of America's most haunting cold cases, and a scientific breakthrough that gave a forgotten child his identity, while leaving his killer a mystery. The mystery began on a cold February day in 1957. On February 25th, in Philadelphia's Fox Chase neighborhood, a young man checking a secluded area made a discovery that would haunt investigators for generations. Hidden among the brush was a worn cardboard box. At first glance, it looked like discarded trash, but inside was the body of a little boy. He appeared to be only 4 to 6 years old. There was no identification, no missing person report that matched him, no note explaining who he was or how he had ended up there. Within hours, police officers, detectives, and forensic specialists arrived at the scene. The quiet woodland became the center of one of the largest investigations Philadelphia had ever seen. Investigators searched every inch of the area. They photographed the scene, collected every piece of evidence they could find, measured tire tracks, studied footprints, and examined the cardboard box itself, hoping it might reveal where it had come from. Every detail mattered, because at that moment, the boy had no identity. He was simply an unknown child. News of the discovery spread quickly. Newspapers across Philadelphia carried the story. Soon, it reached audiences across the United States. People were horrified. Parents studied the child's description, wondering if they recognized him. Tips began pouring in. Some believed they had seen the boy before. Others thought they knew his family. Each new lead brought a glimmer of hope. But hope alone wasn't enough. Investigators had one victim, thousands of possible answers, and one devastating problem. They didn't even know the little boy's name. Without an identity, every lead became harder to follow. Every answer seemed just out of reach. The mystery had only just begun. Over the next several months, detectives launched one of the largest identification efforts in American history. Thousands of people believed they had the answer, yet every single lead ended in disappointment. The discovery shocked Philadelphia, but as newspapers carried the story across the country, the mystery became a national obsession. Who was this little boy? Someone had to know him. Someone had to be looking for him. At least, that's what investigators believed. Detectives launched one of the largest identification efforts of its time. Thousands of photographs were distributed. His fingerprints were taken and compared against available records. Police contacted schools, hospitals, churches, orphanages, and child welfare agencies. Missing child reports from across the country were examined one by one. Every possibility was considered. Every lead was pursued. Investigators even released detailed sketches and photographs, hoping someone would recognize his face. Posters appeared in neighborhoods across the city. The message was simple. Do you know this child? For weeks, the public responded with overwhelming support. The phones never stopped ringing. Letters arrived by the hundreds. Some callers were certain they knew exactly who he was. Others claimed to have seen him only days before. Every new tip reignited hope. But one after another, each lead collapsed. A missing child was found alive. Another belonged to a different family. Descriptions didn't match. Timelines fell apart. Evidence contradicted witness accounts. The investigation kept moving. Yet somehow, the little boy remained completely unknown. What puzzled investigators most wasn't simply that they couldn't identify him. It was that no one appeared to be searching for him. No parents came forward. No relatives reported him missing. No neighbors recognized his photograph. It was as though the child had appeared from nowhere and vanished from everyone's memory. Months passed, then years. The investigation had generated thousands of tips. Yet investigators were no closer to answering the most basic question. Who was the boy in the box? As public attention faded, the case that once captured America's imagination slowly slipped into silence. But silence didn't mean the mystery was over. It only meant it was becoming colder. As the years turned into decades, detectives refused to throw the case away. New investigators inherited old files. Fresh theories emerged. And one woman would come forward with a story so disturbing that many believed the mystery had finally been solved, until investigators uncovered the truth. As the years passed, the investigation changed hands. Detectives retired. New investigators inherited thousands of pages of reports, photographs, and interviews. Every officer believed one thing. Somewhere inside those files, the answer had to exist. The challenge was finding it. Over the decades, countless theories emerged. Some came from anonymous letters. Others from witnesses who believed they had seen the child. Most were carefully investigated. Almost all ended the same way, with no evidence strong enough to identify the boy or the person responsible for his death. Then, years later, one account captured national attention. In the early 2000s, a woman identified publicly only as Martha came forward with a deeply troubling story. She claimed that, as a child, she had lived with her abusive parents, who had allegedly brought a young boy into their home. According to her account, the child was mistreated and later died. She believed he was the boy in the box. Her story included details that appeared to match certain aspects of the case, including the cardboard box and the location where the boy was found. For a moment, it seemed investigators might finally have the breakthrough they had been waiting for. Police took her claims seriously. They interviewed witnesses, reviewed historical records, and compared her account against the physical evidence. But despite years of examination, investigators were unable to confirm her story. No independent evidence could establish that her account accurately described what had happened. The theory remained exactly that, a theory. one of the most compelling the case had ever seen, but never officially proven. Other leads followed. Some believed the child had been adopted illegally. Others suggested he had come from an orphanage or institution. Several people claimed to recognize his photograph. Each possibility was investigated. Each one eventually reached another dead end. As the decades passed, the mystery only grew deeper. By the beginning of the 21st century, many feared the truth might never be known. The witnesses were growing older. Memories were fading. Evidence was aging. It seemed the little boy might remain unidentified forever. But hidden inside the evidence was something investigators in 1957 could never have imagined using. Not a witness, not a confession, not a forgotten document. A microscopic trail, waiting more than half a century for science to catch up. The evidence had been sitting in police storage for decades. It hadn't failed. Technology simply wasn't ready. When forensic genealogy finally arrived, one tiny strand of DNA would succeed where thousands of interviews, newspaper headlines, and decades of detective work had not. For more than 6 decades, the evidence never disappeared. It sat quietly inside police storage, waiting not for another witness, not for another anonymous tip, but for technology that didn't exist in 1957. By the early 2020s, forensic science had entered a new era. Investigators no longer relied only on fingerprints, eyewitnesses, or paper records. Now, even the smallest traces of DNA could tell a story about families, about ancestry, about connections separated by generations. The child had never been able to tell investigators who he was, but his DNA could. Using a technique known as forensic genetic genealogy, specialists compared the boy's DNA with relatives whose genetic information could help reconstruct his family tree. It wasn't about finding a perfect match. It was about following distant biological connections, one branch at a time, piece by piece, generation by generation. The family tree began to take shape. The impossible was becoming possible. The investigation that had once depended on thousands of uncertain tips was now guided by something far more reliable: science. Each new discovery narrowed the search. Each confirmed record brought investigators closer to a child who had been anonymous for 65 years. For the first time, they weren't searching for the boy in the box. They were searching for one specific little boy. Eventually, every record, every DNA comparison, and every genealogical connection pointed to the same conclusion. Investigators knew they had found him. The child who had spent 65 years without a name finally had one. On that day, Philadelphia police stepped before the cameras with an announcement the world had been waiting decades to hear. Not the identity of a suspect, but the identity of the victim. For 65 years, the world had called him only one thing: the boy in the box. That name was about to disappear forever. 4 generations. He had been known by a name that wasn't really a name at all. The boy in a box. It appeared in newspapers, television reports, police files, history books. It became one of America's most recognizable cold cases. But it never told anyone who he truly was. After 65 years, that was about to change. On December 8th, 2022, Philadelphia authorities made an announcement that many believed would never come. Through advances in forensic genetic genealogy, combined with traditional investigative work, they had finally identified the child. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. For the first time since 1957, the little boy at the center of America's longest-running unidentified child homicide investigation had his identity restored. He was no longer just a mystery. He was a person, a son, a member of family.
Be known as America's unknown child has haunted this community, the Philadelphia Police Department, our nation, and the world.
Now our lad is no longer that boy in the box.
Investigators explained that Joseph had been born in January 1953. By painstakingly reconstructing his family tree through DNA analysis and historical records, they were able to confirm exactly who he was. For decades, detectives had searched for strangers. Now, they finally knew whose child they had been trying to identify all along. It was a breakthrough that many investigators had spent entire careers hoping to see. Some had retired. Others had passed away before that day ever came. But their work had not been in vain. Joseph's identification wasn't the result of luck. It was the result of persistence. Generations of detectives carefully preserved evidence. Forensic experts protected samples that others might have considered useless. And decades later, science gave those forgotten pieces of evidence a voice. The case proved something remarkable. Sometimes, justice doesn't begin with finding a suspect. Sometimes, it begins by giving a victim their name back.
We may not make an arrest, we may never make an identification, but we're gonna do our darndest to try.
For many people, this felt like the ending, but investigators knew better. Because identifying Joseph answered only one question. It did not answer the most important one. Who killed him? Joseph Augustus Zarelli finally has his name. But his death remains an open homicide investigation. Authorities have identified his parents and reconstructed much of his family background. Even so, investigators have released only limited information publicly, explaining that protecting the integrity of the investigation remains essential. More than 60 years after Joseph's death, no one has been publicly charged with his murder. Many questions remain unanswered. What happened in the days before his death? Who was responsible? Did anyone else know what had happened? And are there people still alive today who hold the missing pieces of the story? The identification of Joseph was never the finish line. It was a new beginning. By learning who he was, investigators gained fresh leads, new family connections, and a clearer understanding of the circumstances surrounding his life. The hope now is that someone, somewhere, will recognize a detail, remember a conversation, or finally decide that after all these years, it's time to tell the truth. For 65 years, a little boy was remembered only by the place where he was found. History called him the boy in the box. But history was wrong. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. A child, a son, a life that deserved to be known. DNA gave him back his identity. Now, the search continues for the person who took it away. What do you think? Does identifying Joseph Augustus Zarelli bring closure to this case? Or do the unanswered questions make it even more heartbreaking? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective helps keep these stories alive. And sometimes keeping a story alive is how justice moves one step closer. If you enjoy thoughtful, evidence-based true crime documentaries exploring the mysteries that time almost erased, subscribe to Silence of the Truth. There are many more stories waiting to be uncovered.